Assalamu alaikum ji. We are on the almost end of your course, History and Systems of Psychology. We are on the 44th lecture, and hopefully you have been revising what we've been doing so far. We will touch upon some recent developments in psychology today. We touched upon that in the last lecture also. Before we start with some new developments, introducing you to the new developments in psychology, let us review what we had done in the last lecture. We talked about two modern areas that came into the field of psychology in the later part of the last century and have gained prominence in the 21st century. That is the area of organizational psychology. We included in organizational psychology the area of industrial psychology also. So we talked about organizational and industrial psychology as a separate area of psychology which has come to stay in the 21st century. Organizational and industrial psychology touches upon such topics as globalization. हमने आपको बताया था कि ये ग्लोबलाइजेशन जो है ये कोई मॉडर्न बज़वर्ड नहीं है, ये बहुत अरसे से ग्लोबलाइजेशन का प्रोसेस जारी है. अगर हम ग्लोबलाइजेशन को ऐसे इसकी तारीफ करें दैट इट इज़ द मूवमेंट ऑफ पीपल अक्रॉस कॉन्टिनेंट्स, it is the movement of goods and services across continents, then it has been going on for centuries. And I told you that the only difference in the past and in the present process of globalization is the speed or the velocity and the volume with which movements of labor, capital, goods and services are taking place. अब ये movement बहुत rapid हो गई है और इसका ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस पे बहुत गहरा असर है और ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में जो लोग हैं उन पे भी ग्लोबलाइजेशन का बहुत गहरा असर है. इसी रेफरेंस में हमने जिक्र किया था डाइवर्सिटी का. एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल साइकोलॉजी का एक हिस्सा है द स्टडी ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी. ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस आर मूविंग मोर एंड मोर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स डाइवर्सिटी. डू नॉट कंफ्यूज डाइवर्सिटी विद डाइवर्सिफिकेशन. Diversity means having many types of people in one organization. आप किसी इदारे को देख लें, चाहे वो यूनिवर्सिटी है या जूते बनाने की फैक्ट्री है या आइसक्रीम बनाने की फैक्ट्री है या सुइयां बनाने की फैक्ट्री है, उसमें बहुत किस तरह के लोग शामिल हैं. कोई छोटी उम्र का है, कोई बड़ी उम्र का है, कोई औरत है, कोई मर्द है, कोई मुख्तलिफ मज़ाहिब से मुतल्लिक लोग हैं. तो all of this is what we call diversity in organizations, and diversity in organizations is affecting the behavior of people in those organizations. We also talked about in this context how organizational psychologists are researching that people could be motivated to move the organizations toward the organizational goals. We also talked about stress. And organizational stress or industrial stress, as I told you, is causing a tremendous amount of real money to the industry and to the organization. That money, if it could be saved by getting people to feel less stressful, that money could be used for the welfare of people. We also talked about different types of leadership and leadership phenomena in organizations. We said that we touched upon the controversy whether leaders are made or born, and then I showed you that psychologists in the 21st century have been able to identify the roles that leaders play in organizations. And they are now training people in those roles. So they are producing leaders. This is what we talked about in relationship to organizational behavior. We also talked about industrial psychology, which we included in the overall organizational industrial topic. In industrial psychology, we talked about selection, how to select people, how the organization, how the industry selects people. We talked about training and how important selection and training are. We talked about the effect of stress. We also talked about what happens to people if they are not trained or if their stress is not diminished in the industry. We also talked about the relationship between fatigue and stress. In tamam baaton ko, today we recognize these topics as the topics in the area of industrial and organizational psychology. That is what we touched on in the last lecture. We then talked about environmental psychology. Environmental psychology is related to the effect of environment on the psychology of people, and also how the psychology influences the environment. We know that depletion of natural resources, we know that pollution of environment has been caused by man, and that is how man has influenced environment. In turn, environment influences the psychology of man. Crowding influences psychological behavior of people. Pollution influences. Pollution not only means pollution in the air, pollution also means pollution in the water, pollution also means noise pollution. All of these factors are related to environmental psychology, and we saw the relationship between man and environment, and that relationship, how each affects the other, is the area of environmental psychology, a topic that has emerged tremendous amount of significance in the 21st century. Let us now take a look at some other areas of psychology that have emerged in the 21st century. And one of them is, as you can see in your own television screens, consumer psychology. Consumer psychology relates to the psychology of a person as a consumer. All of us are consumers. You buy your pencils and books, you use them, you consume them. I buy clothes, your mother buys groceries for the household, your father buys cars or shoes for you. Also, all of us are consumers. The branch of psychology which studies what is going on in the mind of the person as a consumer and what is affecting his behavior as a consumer is someone who is known in modern psychology, in the 21st century psychology, as a consumer psychologist. Consumer psychology is therefore a study of the psychology of people as consumers. Psychologists have identified a number of factors. बहुत से ऐसे उन्होंने अनासिर की निशानदही की है जिन अनासिर का एक शख्स की नफ्सियात पर बहैसियत सारिफ उसकी नफ्सियात पर बहुत गहरा असर है. Psychologists have identified a number of factors that influence the psychology of a person as a consumer. Let us take a look at some of those factors and you'll be able to have a more clear picture of what is consumer psychology in the modern age. Some factors that influence consumer behavior we know are cultural factors. We cannot hope to sell burgers in a country where people don't eat beef. We cannot hope to sell shoes, open shoes, in a country where it snows or where temperatures remain very low. People don't wear open shoes there. We don't hope to sell things that are in contradiction to the cultural, historical tradition of a particular region or a nation. And that is the influence of cultural factors on consumer behavior, one small part of it. Then, of course, consumer behavior is influenced by other factors such as subcultural factors. In every culture, there are subcultures. Subcultures are the units that have similarity between them but exist within a larger culture. The culture of the city dweller in Pakistan, for instance, is different from the culture of village dweller in Pakistan. जो लोग पाकिस्तान के शहरों में रहते हैं, उनका कल्चर मामूली हद तक ही सही, लेकिन किसी हद तक गांव में रहने वाले अफराद से मुख्तलिफ है. इसी तरह से वो कल्चर जो एक ख़ास रीजन का है, वो दूसरे रीजन के कल्चर से थोड़ा सा मुख्तलिफ है. इन कल्चर्स को हम सब कल्चर कहते हैं, जो कि विद इन ए कल्चर देयर आर क्लोजर आइडेंटिटीज between certain parts of people, and that is subculture. So, subcultural factors also influence consumer behavior. There is a great demand for ajrak in Sindh, and there is a great demand for certain types of food in NWFP. So, we have these subcultural factors influencing behavior of consumers. We also look at factors such as personal factors. The personal needs of a person influences consumer behavior. The needs in terms of the gender of a person. The needs of a male are different from the needs of a female. The needs in terms of the age of a person. The needs at the age of, let us say, 18 to 20 are different for someone who's a consumer as compared to his needs when he is, let us say, 40 or 45. When you are a student, your needs are different. When you graduate and you are gainfully employed, जब आप बरसरे इक़्तिदार होके आप माशी तौर पे इंडिपेंडेंट हैं, उस वक्त आपकी ज़रूरियात जो हैं वो उस वक्त की ज़रूरियात से मुख्तलिफ हैं जबकि आप एक तालिब इल्म हैं. इसलिए आपकी ज़रूरियात आपके कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर पे इन्फ्लुएंस करती हैं, और ये ज़रूरियात, द पर्सनल फैक्टर्स, चेंज फ्रॉम वन टाइम टू अनदर टाइम. कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर ऑल्सो लुक्स एट व्हाट दे कॉल इन्वॉल्वमेंट फैक्टर्स. डू यू हैव इन्वॉल्वमेंट विद ए प्रोडक्ट और अ सर्विस? ऐसा ही है. Of course you have involvement. We know in consumer behavior, for instance, that brand loyalty is one of the very important determinants of consumer behavior. यानी एक शख्स जो है वो अगर सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक में ब्रांड अलिफ को पसंद करता है तो वो ब्रांड अलिफ का ही इस्तेमाल करेगा, ब्रांड बे का इस्तेमाल नहीं करता वो. और अगर उसको ब्रांड अलिफ की जगह ब्रांड बे या जीम दिया भी जाए तो वो बे और जीम के ब्रांड के इस्तेमाल से परहेज करता है. ये दिस इज एन एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ व्हाट इज कॉल्ड इन्वॉल्वमेंट विद द ब्रांड और व्हाट इज कॉल्ड ब्रांड लॉयल्टी. ये ब्रांड लॉयल्टी कैसे डेवलप होती है? क्या ये सिर्फ सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक से मुतल्लिक है, क्या ये कपड़ों से मुतल्लिक भी है, या ब्लेड से मुतल्लिक भी है, या कॉस्मेटिक्स का जो ख़वातीन इस्तेमाल करती हैं उनसे भी मुतल्लिक है? जी हाँ, ऐसा ही है. ब्रांड लॉयल्टी जो है ये कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर में तमाम कंज्यूमर प्रोडक्ट्स से रिलेटेड है. न सिर्फ ये that brand loyalty or involvement is related to soft drink, it is also related to the kind of milk that you use, the kind of socks that you wear. the kind of blades that men use, the kind of cosmetics that ladies use, all of these show the effect of brand loyalty, which consumer psychologists call involvement factors which influence consumer behavior. बहुत अहम ये उनके नज़दीक एक टॉपिक है कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर में. इसी तरह से हम कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर में पढ़ते हैं फैक्टर्स दैट आर रिलेटेड टू मेमोरी. हाउ इज मेमोरी रिलेटेड टू कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर? योर मेमोरी of the use of a product, your memory of an advertisement, your memory of what satisfaction you got out of the use of that product, your memory of how much price you paid for that product, your memory of dissatisfaction or lack of satisfaction that you got out of the use of a product. All of these factors influence your behavior as a consumer. So memory factors, that's of course one aspect of memory factors. Then of course memory factors are used in advertising, which is a part of consumer psychology. What are those variables? वो कौन से अनासिर हैं जिनका इस्तेमाल करके एक इश्तिहार वाली कंपनी अपने प्रोडक्ट का ऐसा इश्तिहार बनाए कि वो लोगों के जहनों पे मजबूती से सब्त हो जाए और लोग याद रखें कि ये प्रोडक्ट जो है ये अच्छी प्रोडक्ट है और ये प्रोडक्ट जो है ये इनको बाजार में सुपरमार्केट में मिल जाती है. सो व्हेन दे गो इनटू द शॉप्स, if it is an advertisement of a product or a service which has affected deeply the memory of the consumer, then the consumer would be reminded of that product and the possibility of his making a choice for that product improves. In consumer behavior or consumer psychology, psychologists also study what is called consumer choice behavior. Consumer choice behavior relates to what are those factors that influence his choice for a particular product and a particular brand of a product. Choice behavior is another important factor, important part of overall consumer psychology. Consumer psychologists are also interested in, look into, view post-purchase behavior. ये post-purchase behavior क्या चीज़ है? Post-purchase behavior is related to how the consumer feels after he has purchased a product or has used a service. भाई इसकी क्या ज़रूरत है आपको देखने की कंज्यूमर बिहेवियरिस्ट्स को या कंज्यूमर साइकोलॉजिस्ट को? जब एक शख्स ने एक चीज़ खरीद ली तो उसका मुनाफा तो इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट को या बनाने वाले को मिल गया. अब जो इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट है या मार्केटर है या बनाने वाला है, मैन्युफैक्चरर है या प्रोड्यूसर है, अब उसको इस बात की क्या ज़रूरत है कि वो कंज्यूमर के पोस्ट परचेज बिहेवियर को भी स्टडी करें? इसकी इसलिए ज़रूरत है कि पोस्ट परचेज बिहेवियर जो है वो रीपरचेज पे असर रखता है. If somebody has sold product A and the consumer is satisfied with product A, the probability of his repurchase of product A increases. If he is dissatisfied with product A after having purchased and used product A, then the probability of his repurchase of that product A, decreases. Therefore, the consumer psychologist is interested in finding out how the consumer feels after he has made the purchase. Because if he feels better, if he feels that he has attained a bargain, अगर वो समझता है कि जो कीमत उसने अदा की है किसी चीज़ को ख़रीदने के लिए, उसको उस चीज़ के ख़रीदने के बाद उससे उसकी तस्कीन ज़्यादा हुई है बनिस्बत उस कीमत के जो उसने अदा की है, तो फिर वो उस चीज़ को, उस शय को दोबारा भी ख़रीदेगा, दोबारा भी इस्तेमाल करेगा. इसलिए कंज्यूमर साइकोलॉजिस्ट्स आर ऑल्सो इंटरेस्टेड इन पोस्ट परचेज बिहेवियर. अशिया को ख़रीदने और इस्तेमाल करने के बाद का जो बिहेवियर है, माहिरीन नफ्सियात, सारिफीन के माहिरीन नफ्सियात जो हैं, वो उसका मुतालिया भी करना चाहते हैं और करते हैं, क्योंकि उस बिहेवियर का और उस तस्कीन का रिपीट परचेज बिहेवियर पे बहुत गहरा असर है. तो ये रिपीट परचेज बिहेवियर भी एक अहम टॉपिक है कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर का. ये देखें, ये तमाम बातें जो हैं जिसका मैंने सरसरी तौर पे जिक्र किया, कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर में या कंज्यूमर साइकोलॉजी में फैक्टर्स such as the influence of culture, factors such as the influence of subculture, factors such as the influence of social class, all of these factors, factors such as involvement factors, factors such as memory factors, factors such as post-purchase behavior factors, और भी बहुत से factors हैं, इनका कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर पे बहुत गहरा असर है. और माहिरीन नफ्सियात इसको, इन तमाम फैक्टर्स को और फैक्टर्स के अलावा भी पढ़ना पसंद करते हैं. अभी तो मॉडर्न एज में कंज्यूमर साइकोलॉजी में मास्टर्स एंड डॉक्टरल डिग्रीज भी ऑफर की जा रही हैं. इफ़ यू आर टू गो अब्रॉड इन अ कंट्री टू स्टडी साइकोलॉजी, and who knows how many of you will go abroad and study and become specialists in consumer psychology, you could choose, if you go abroad, a main area of your specialization, that of consumer psychology. You could do your master's and your doctorate in consumer psychology. ये इतनी अहम फील्ड 21st सेंचुरी में अब तक बन चुकी है. This is, in summary, the area of consumer psychology. सारिफीन की नफ्सियात मौजूदा 21वीं सदी में बहुत अहमियत की हामिल है. चलिए एक और एरिया हम स्टडी करते हैं साइकोलॉजी का, and that is another recently developed area of psychology, that is called हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी. हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी भी 20वीं सदी के आखिर और 21वीं सदी में बहुत अहमियत हासिल कर चुकी है. हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी का ताल्लुक किस चीज़ से है? हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी का ताल्लुक है, इट स्टडीज हाउ पीपल रिमेन हेल्दी. व्हाट इज साइकोलॉजिकल and physical health. Exactly, health is not only the absence of disease, but a higher level of performance or thriving or being satisfied. When we were talking about history of psychology, we had talked at length about psychological illnesses. So you probably may have gotten the message कि शायद माहिरीन नफ्सियात जो हैं वो सिर्फ नफ्सियाती अमराज में ज़्यादा दिलचस्पी रखते हैं. जी नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. माहिरीन नफ्सियात नफ्सियाती अमराज में दिलचस्पी रखते हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ माहिरीन नफ्सियात सेहत की नफ्सियात में भी बहुत दिलचस्पी रखते हैं. And a whole new area has emerged in the recent 21st century that we call health psychology. What is health? How is it that people stay healthy? Why is it that some people become ill? And how is it that people respond to illness? This is the area of health psychology. Health is not only absence of illness, as I said, but to be able to function at the premium level of your potential. Health psychologists study why people become sick. Is it only by contracting certain diseases from outside, or is it also the malfunctioning of certain systems in the body, or is it also the way people think that makes them unhealthy? And then health psychologists also take a look at how people respond to illnesses. Does one get sick and then becomes mentally unhealthy also? Or is it that one's mental attitude affects one's body? Or is it a dialectical process that the body affects the mind and the mind affects the body? Health psychologists are looking into these areas. Health psychologists are looking into, from one angle, various functioning systems in the body. What are those systems? The cardiovascular system, the nervous system, the endocrine system, the digestive system, जो हमारे हाजमे का निज़ाम है, the renal system, जैसे हमारे किडनीज फंक्शन करते हैं, जैसे हमारे गुदूद जो हैं वो फंक्शन करते हैं, ये तमाम सिस्टम जो बॉडी के हैं, इनका हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी के माहिरीन बहुत डिटेल से मुतालिया करते हैं. क्योंकि ये सिस्टम्स जो हैं, चाहे वो हमारे गुर्दों का रिलेटेड रीनल सिस्टम है, या हमारा निज़ाम इंहिज़ाम है, हमारा डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम है, इन चीज़ों का एक शख्स की सेहत से बहुत गहरा ताल्लुक है. हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी ऑल्सो आइडेंटिफाइज दोज पैटर्न्स और दोज एक्शंस that result in prevention of diseases. आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे भी देख रहे होंगे कि हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी जो है वो सिर्फ ये नहीं, इस चीज़ का मुताला नहीं कर रही कि हेल्थ का और सिकनेस का आपस में क्या फ़र्क है. हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी इज ऑल्सो लुकिंग इनटू व्हाट आर दोज वेरिएबल्स, व्हाट आर दोज फैक्टर्स, व्हाट आर दोज influences that can prevent a person to become sick. आप जानते हैं कि अंग्रेजी की मिसाल है, प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन क्योर. इसलिए हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी वाले जो हैं, दे लुक इनटू प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स. फॉर इंस्टेंस, different psychologists have seen that aerobic exercise is negatively related to physical sickness. इसका क्या मतलब है कि वो लोग जो बाकायदगी से वर्जिश करते हैं वो बीमारियों का कम शिकार होते हैं बनिस्बत उन लोगों के जो बाकायदगी से वर्जिश नहीं करते. फॉर इंस्टेंस, दोज पीपल हु जॉग, दोज पीपल हु स्विम, those people who bicycle, those people who take long walks, those people who indulge in any kind of activity which increases their physical activity, raises their heartbeat, they are people who fall less sick, who are less prone to physical diseases. So health psychologists have identified aerobic exercise as one of the preventive measures in disease. They have identified aerobic exercise as an important prevention of diseases, as an important pre-step or an important ingredient for physical and mental health. इसी तरह से हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी वालों ने ये भी देखा है कि स्ट्रेस क्या चीज है and how stress influences health psychologists have identified various factors that produce stress. They have seen that there are factors such as a larger or extra organizational factors that cause stress in people. Then they have seen that there are factors that reside within a group in which a person finds himself. Then they have seen that stress is caused by certain personal factors. Extra organizational factors may include such factors as earthquakes, floods, wars. Some factors in the organization may be factors that a person is not liked by his colleagues. His colleagues at the place of work are not supportive for him, and that causes stress. They have also seen that stress may be caused by personal factors such as personality types. Health psychologists have identified type A and type B. Type A are the people who are more prone to stress, and type B are people who are less prone to stress. They have identified stress as a main hurdle in health. So they are adopting strategies, they are discovering strategies, they are suggesting strategies. वो ऐसे तरीका हायकार बता रहे हैं लोगों को, ऐसे तरीकाकार उन्होंने दरियाफ्त किए हैं जिससे स्ट्रेस जो है उसको कम और ख़त्म किया जा सकता है. That's another topic in health psychology. Another topic in health psychology is related to pain. दर्द क्या है? दुनिया में कौन सा ऐसा शख्स है जिसको दर्द नहीं होते? आप सर दर्द का शिकार हैं, दर्द शिकम का शिकार हैं, तरह तरह की दर्द हैं. Can we understand pain? Yes. Health psychologists have analyzed and understood pain. They can see pain. They can analyze the factors that cause pain. They can see that pain they have developed strategies how pain can be helped or how pain can be controlled or how pain can be managed. बाज़ ऐसी चीज़ें हैं, बाज़ ऐसी बीमारियां हैं जिसमें पेन कैनॉट बी हेल्प्ड. फॉर इंस्टेंस, खुदा न खास्ता हार्ट अटैक की सूरत में, खुदा न खास्ता कैंसर की सूरत में, पेन इज ए वेरी वेरी negative influence on a person. We know that heart attack involves tremendous pain. And some patients of heart attack die because of pain. It is so great. We know that in some cases there is tremendous amount of pain in people who are suffering from the terminal disease of cancer. How can pain be managed in those cases? How can pain be lessened in those cases? Are there, apart from medical, surgical procedures, that psychologists can adopt to manage and lessen that pain? And that is the area, another area of health psychology. Health psychology also looks at, as I have just pointed out to you, people who should be managed or who need to be managed when they are terminally ill. Terminally ill are those people जो किसी ऐसी बीमारी में मुब्तला हैं जिससे शिफा होना मुमकिन नहीं है. खुदा न खास्ता अगर कोई शख्स कैंसर का मरीज हो जाए तो हम उस शख्स को टर्मिनली इल शख्स कहेंगे. Health psychologists look into how to manage people who are terminally ill. They have developed technologies of managing them because medicine and surgery has no cure for those people. Health psychologists also have identified ways and means of managing people who are old, whose processes, the body has degenerated. आंखें जवाब दे गई और आपके जिस्म के खुदा न खास्ता किसी शख्स के जिस्म के दूसरे हिस्से जवाब दे जाएं, किडनीज जवाब दे जाएं. उस सूरत में मरीज को कैसे मैनेज करना चाहिए या कैसे मैनेज किया जाता है, ये भी हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी का एक हिस्सा है. सो हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी हैज डेवलप्ड एज ए न्यू सब्जेक्ट looking into these areas related to health, discovering how health can be achieved, maintained and improved upon, preventing illness, how to avoid illness, preventing stress, how to manage stress, and management of terminally ill and management of old and degenerating people. All of this is the recent area that we have called health psychology. Before we end today, let us look at what we talked about in the most recently developed areas of psychology in the 21st century. In that context, we talked about two recently emerging areas of psychology. They emerged, let us say, by the middle of the 20th century and have now become very prominent areas of psychology in the 21st century. तो हमने दो areas का जिक्र किया जो recently 21st century में बहुत prominent हो गए हैं. और एरियाज का जिक्र भी हम करेंगे, लेकिन ये दो एरियाज भी प्रोमिनेंट हैं. और ये कौन कौन से हैं जिनका हमने जिक्र किया है? नंबर 1 कंज्यूमर साइकोलॉजी और कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर, और दूसरा हेल्थ साइकोलॉजी. मैंने आपको बताया पहले से मुतल्लिक, रिव्यू करते हैं उसको, रिकैप्चर करते हैं कि क्या बताया. कंज्यूमर साइकोलॉजी या कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर इज रिलेटेड टू the study of the psychology of a person as a consumer. All of us are consumers, whether we are one gender or another gender, whether we are one age group or another age group, whether we are one country or another country, whether we are one ethnic group or another ethnic group. All of us are consumers. We consume, and therefore this psychology that we've talked about, consumer psychology, has an impact on our behavior as a consumer. Consumer behavior studies or consumer psychology studies the influence of cultural factors on a person as a consumer. याद रखिए, in consumer behavior or consumer psychology, we are only interested in that part of psychology of a person where he is a consumer. When he is using products, when he is using services, then he is a consumer. So consumer psychology is influenced, impacted by cultural factors, we noted. Cultural factors determine what kind of food are we going to eat, at what time are we going to eat, what kind of soft drinks are we going to use, at what time are we going to use, what kinds of clothes are we going to wear, how are we going to wear them, what kind of books and periodicals and pens and pencils are we going to buy, and how are we going to buy. All of these factors, all of these choices, all of these patterns of behaviors are influenced by our cultural factors. हमारे जो कल्चरल फैक्टर हैं वो ये इस बात का तयन कर रहे हैं कि एक शख्स खाएगा क्या, पहनेगा क्या, किताब कौन सी पढ़ेगा, सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक कौन सी पिएगा या नहीं पिएगा, वगैरह वगैरह. इस तरह से सब कल्चरल फैक्टर्स भी हैं जो हमारे कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर पे असरअंदाज हो रहे हैं. सब कल्चरल कौन से फैक्टर्स हैं? वो जो एथनिक फैक्टर्स हैं. ए पंजाबी वुड बिहेव स्लाइटली डिफरेंटली इन हिज ईटिंग habits as compared to a Pathan, for instance. And this is an influence of cultural factors. A Sindhi would eat differently, slightly differently as compared to a Pathan, for instance. These are subcultural factors. Although overall the cultural factors influence, also within the cultural domain, subcultural factors also influence consumer behavior. Then of course we noted that the factors that reside in the group and the factors that reside in the family also influence consumer behavior. Familial factors, factors related to family, determines what kind of food a family is eating, how much is it going to eat, what kind of cars the family is going to buy, what kind of books is it going to buy or not buy, what kind of clothes the family is going to buy and not buy. All of these family-related factors influence a person's behavior as a consumer. We also looked at some personal factors, or we know that personal factors also influence a person's psychology as a consumer. Personal factors such as personal choice, gender, past experience, wishes and desires, all of these influence behavior of a person as a consumer. Then we also looked at some of the post-purchase factors. लगता तो ऐसा है कि जब मैंने आपसे अभी कहा कि एक दफ़ा अगर कोई चीज़ बिक गई या कोई सर्विस का इस्तेमाल हो गया तो फिर why should the consumer psychologist be interested in the post-purchase behavior of a consumer? And I told you that post-purchase behavior, the feeling of satisfaction after the purchase, leads to repurchase. Therefore, if a consumer is satisfied by his purchase, after the purchase, then he is going to recommend the article, recommend the product to other people, and also buy the product again himself. So consumer behavior is also influenced by post-purchase behavior. We also talked about involvement factors in this regard. Involvement factors are factors which create your loyalty to a product, a brand, or a service. The more you like the product, the more you like the brand, the more you get involved with the brand. So involvement factors also influence behavior of people as consumers. This is then what is called the area of consumer psychology. We took a look at consumer behavior. or consumer psychology, one of the recently developed areas of psychology that has emerged as a separate science or a separate area of investigation and interest in the 21st century. इसके अलावा जो हमने देखा, that was the area of health psychology. Health psychology looks at how is it that people become healthy and stay healthy. How is it that they become sick? Health psychologists are not looking into what is sickness. Health psychologists are looking into the process by which people may become sick. The health psychologists also look into the process of response of a person during illness. So health psychologists are interested in looking into various systems of the body, the cardiovascular system, for instance, the digestive system, for instance, the reproductive and the renal system, for instance. ये हमारे मुख्तलिफ जिस्म के जो निज़ाम हैं उनका मुतालिया भी सेहत की नफ्सियात करती है. Health psychology is also interested into looking at prevention of diseases. हमने आपसे बताया था कि prevention is better than cure. Therefore, health psychologists focus on what are those methods by which not only can people become healthy, but what are those methods by adopting which methods people can prevent illness. Prevention of illness is an important area in health psychology. Health psychology also looks at stress. What is human stress? What are the causes of human stress? इसका हमने आपको अभी बताया था, उसके बहुत सारे causes उन्होंने आइडेंटिफाई कर दी हैं, और beyond that they have also identified how stress may be gotten rid of or how it may be managed and reduced. Health psychologists also look at what is pain, दर्द क्या है, how pain develops, what are the processes involved in pain, how can pain be prevented, how can pain, if it is not possible to prevent pain, how can pain be managed. मैंने आपको बताया था कि कुछ ऐसी, खुदा ना खास्ता, अल्लाह ना करे आपको महफूज रखे, अपनी अमान में रखे अल्लाह ताला, कुछ ऐसी बीमारियां हैं जिनमें पेन जो है वो उस शख्स की बीमारी का हिस्सा है. मिसाल के तौर पर दिल का दौरा, आज़ा जो है उसमें पेन, तकलीफ जो है वो एक शख्स का हिस्सा बन जाती है. इसी तरह से कैंसर जैसी मूजी बीमारी में पेन इज ए पार्ट ऑफ ए पर्सन's लाइफ. So health psychologists have looked into pain, have discovered its physiology, and have learned how pain can be managed. Health psychology also deals in the terminally ill, वो लोग जो करीबुल मर्ग हैं और जिनका इलाज नहीं हो सकता, उनको कैसे मैनेज किया जाता है. This is also a topic in health psychology. So health psychology looks at various aspects of health, prevention, and where health and prevention is not possible, management. And that is the area of health psychology, another modern area. We will take a look at some other modern areas of psychology. Do take a look at what we have covered today. Until the next time, Khuda Hafiz, God be with you.